He's here.
Oh, good.
You didn't have to wait for me if you had a quorum. I just was computer had to update.
Well, we had your bill is second, so I didn't want to start because then I would have had to delay. So
Much appreciated, Mr. Chair. Sorry.
yeah, no worries. We're glad you're in. All right, so I'd like to call to order our legislative session, day 4 work session, and it's February 11th, 2025, and we were going to start with Bill 1025, which is council members Marks, Ketch, and Patoka, emergency medical service billing, volunteer ambulance units, and David had just, Councilman Marks, did you want to, I know we just talked about this, but do you want to talk about what you're doing with it?
Sure. So I had a very good conversation with the county executive this afternoon. There had already been an informal work group looking at this issue of firefighter and paramedic funding. She requested that we not move forward with this bill at this time while we more formalize a work group to look at this. I think that's a fair request. And I think we are advancing this discussion about funding needs for public safety, and that's important. So I'm going to pull the bill at this time.
Okay, great. Miss Belcastro, I guess we could call speakers, but I had said earlier, if you've signed up to speak for Bill 1025, because we don't have a bill at this point, there's really nothing to speak for. If you really want to speak, Ms. Belcastro, how do we want to deal with that? Are we just not taking speakers, or should they put their hand up? Or
I do have a list of speakers for that bill. As you said, it's being withdrawn from the agenda, so it will not be considered on Monday. If someone still would like to comment on it who previously registered, you can raise your hand and I can call upon you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I did try reaching a number of these speakers. I don't feel as bad doing this because it's virtual, right? People didn't travel to Towson. I'm sorry for the lateness of this, but I do appreciate everyone who did sign up.
okay. All right. Well, if we get any hands, we can always go back to them. So I'm gonna move on to Bill 920.
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Oh,
I do have someone who just raised their hand.
Okay.
Bear with me because I'm trying to find them on the list of. I believe it's well, Mr. John Schneckenberger. Let me make him a panelist. Mr. Schneckenberger.
Yeah, I just want to say I do understand the bill has been pulled, and I do greatly appreciate the consideration of funding for the volunteers and the career department. I am the vice president of finance for the Baltimore County Firefighters Association, and I do just want to say thank you for considering it and the hard work you've all particularly put in towards the funding here lately. And we appreciate going forward what you're doing for us. Both Bill number 9 and Bill number 10 are definitely beneficial for us. And I want to say thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Schneckenberger, for your service to the county, and we appreciate you being here with us today. Is that all we have on Bill 1025? No other hands?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that was the only hand that was raised.
Okay. All right. So now we'll move on to Bill 925. This is a bill from council members Young, Marks, Ketch, and Patoka, Fire Rescue and Emergency Medical Services Fund. Councilman Young, did you want to talk about this bill?
Yep, and background too, and also sort of adding all pulling together the volunteers and the professionals of needs and what we could be doing to be more effective and helpful, which came to the drafting of 925 and 1025. Councilman Marks and I agreed to work together on both of our bills. They were introduced at the same time. And while mine does not have the same exact concerns from the administration, stay in solidarity and together. And mine is going to hold mine as well to continue working with Councilman Marks to establish so that we, as both in the long run, the short term.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Councilman.
Councilman,
I cannot understand, it is,
Yeah, Pat, Councilman Young, your feed's a little off.
I blame my government issue computer.
You sound a little better now.
Gotcha.
so I,
Without restating everything,
okay,
I'm still in solidarity with Councilman Marks. These bills were put together and worked on together, so I don't want to move forward without his. I'm going to be pulling mine as well to continue the conversation with the work group, be brought back up later.
Okay, so we're withdrawing Bill 9 for now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. And the same thing, Ms. Belcastro, there were I think at least three speakers on 925 because we have no bill. It's really nothing to speak on, but if anyone wanted to raise their hand because they absolutely want us to know something, feel free.
Yes, Mr. Steve Redmer, who
Okay.
signed up to speak on this item. Mr.
Okay,
Redmer,
great.
you are our panelist. You may unmute yourself.
Welcome, Mr. Redner.
Hello, how's everybody doing today?
Good.
Chairman Hotel Council, I want to thank you guys very much for the time. My name's Steve Redmer. I'm the president of the Baltimore County Professional Firefighters, Local 1311. I understand we're withdrawing the bill. I want to thank Councilman Marks, Councilman Young, and we've spoke a little bit with Councilman Patoka. Very thankful that we're seeing some action by the council to try to help us out. I believe I've stated a few of you what our funding concerns are. So it's nice to see that some action is being taken. I look forward to this formal work group and see if we can't do something here to get us up to standard. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here with us tonight.
No problem.
Okay. Any others, Ms. Belcastro? Just Mr. Redner?
Mr. Scheckenberger already spoke, and no one else has raised their hand, so.
Okay. All right. All right, then we're going to move on to Bill 1125. This is Councilman Marks, County Charter, vacancy, county council members. Mr. Councilman Marks, do you want to talk about this?
One moment,
Your sound's out.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And Ms. Belcastro has a presentation that I've developed that outlines why I think this is an important piece of legislation. So I ask Ms. Belcastro to please share that. Okay, very good. This legislation would amend the county charter regarding county council vacancies. Under the current language, if there is a vacancy, we're moving forward. Can we move back? Back.
one moment, Councilman.
Okay. Okay.
Definitely a full moon meeting. None of our electronics are working. Snowing.
My apologies. For some reason, the slide is moving by itself, so we're just gonna
Okay.
stick with this.
Okay, this is good. Okay, this legislation would send to the voters a amendment to the county charter regarding vacancies. Under the current language, in the event of a vacancy, each central committee member for the Republican and Democratic parties who is elected in a district that overlaps with the council district in which there's a vacancy would receive one vote per precinct that overlaps with their own and the county council district. Next slide. The current language does not reflect the fact that the party central committees are structured in different ways and may be affected differently by the charter. If a council vacancy were to occur today, one of two scenarios might play out. Next slide. The Republican Central Committee is structured in a way in which each county council district has 4 members. If a vacancy is created in a Republican held seat, then only up to the 4 members of the Republican Central Committee that reside within that county council district may vote for replacement with no check by the rest of the committee, by the county council, or by the county executive. So if there's a vacancy in a Republican held county council seat, 4 members of the Central Committee select the replacement. Next slide, please. The Democratic Central Committee has a different system. If there's a vacancy in a Democratic held seat, then the members of the committee who get to vote would receive between 1 and 24 votes. And this has to do with the way the precincts are organized, the fact that the Democratic Central Committee organizes its members by state legislative district, and there's various overlapping scenarios with the multiple county council districts. Next slide. What this leads to is a different system for both parties. It really leads to uneven voting representation because precincts range in population from under 100 people to over 10,000 people, which is compounded by the fact that these central committee districts may be represented by 2, 4, or 6 members. Next slide. Put simply, this charter amendment aligns Baltimore County with other jurisdictions and with the Maryland General Assembly. All members of each county central committee would get to participate, and equally, under the current scenario, if you're not a central committee member from those districts, you don't get to participate. Only those people who are in that county council district, represent part of that county council district, get to participate. Furthermore, under this charter change, the central committees could further add provisions in their bylaws as they do with state legislative vacancies. What we do under this legislation is we require the 3 names be sent to the county council, who will then choose from the 3 with ties being broken by the county executive. So if there's a vacancy and there's a tie 3-3, then it's broken by the county executive. And that's all I have to say.
Cool.
Mr.
Okay, yes, Councilman Ketch.
Yeah, with the Republican Central Committee, what happens if the 4 members from the district are split 2-2 and cannot come up with 3 names or even 1 name?
Under the current situation,
No, under this bill.
then under this bill, under this bill, the central committee would nominate up to 3 names.
The full Central Committee.
The full central committee would nominate up to 3 names. This parallels the way the legislature does it. The General Assembly does it right. The entire central committee forwards names to the governor.
Oh, what you just gave us would be the current situation.
Right,
not-
under the current situation, the only people who pick it, Wade, if you or I or Todd Crandall passed away, right, it would, the 4 members of the central committee would would pick the next county council member. No one else would. I mean, it doesn't involve anyone else in the central committee. This process broadens the process.
The, on the Democrat Central Committee, I have a number of legislative districts in my councilmatic district. One District 10 has one precinct in councilmatic District 3. I don't know how many Central Committee members are on the Democrat side from District 10. Would they each get one vote? Is that how it's currently set up?
I believe the way it's set up is it's one vote per precinct.
So there's one precinct from
Then
district.
they get one, and
Council-
then they would get,
And each member of the Democrat Central Committee who represents District 10 would get a vote?
based on their precincts, the
I-
number of precincts they have.
Okay,
That's
so,
the way I read that's the way I read the existing
Right.
charter.
so that means since there's one precinct in legislative District 10 that's located in councilmatic District 3, if they had if they were to choose a replacement of the council, all I'm trying to figure out is, I don't know how many Central Committee members there are from legislative District 10. I think it's 10A or 10B. I don't know, or 11A. I really don't know what it is, man. It's 10A or 10B. Do they have like 2 or 3 members per legislative district, or does it vary the number of members?
My understanding is that there's 6 Central Committee members in District 10 for the Democratic Central Committee.
And since District 10 is split into 10A and 10B, are they, and I don't know if it's 10A or 10Bs, one of them's in my district, one precinct from one of them is in my district.
Right. 10 is not split, 11 is split. I'm not an expert on where all the lines go. It's
one precinct.
it's very confusing. All this bill does is it really tries to standardize things.
Right.
It creates a more orderly process that mirrors the state process, which seems to be working very well.
Okay. I'm just asking because it confuses, well, it doesn't confuse me. I just trying to figure out what the situation is. Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Mr. Chair?
Yes. Is that Councilman Patoka?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Councilman Marks. I know that you have spent a lot of time working on this. I know your team has worked on it. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the use of metrics. It's data driven. Having said that, I do have some concern. One of the things that I believe is, I know that the Central Committee, I have very little familiarity with the Republican Central Committee, but I do have a stronger familiarity with the Democratic Central Committee. And on the Democratic side, the Central Committee members do a tremendous amount of work in terms of in a whole variety of areas that help the Democratic Party. I just am concerned that given the energy that's put in by the Democratic Central Committees, the thought, the hard work, I feel like this may be approaching kind of a pulling away of their authority, and that's somewhat concerning to me. And I don't mean to be, like I said, you've done great work on this, Councilman Marks. I don't mean to be dismissive of it in any way, but just wanted to share those concerns that I have. And then I would also say a little bit concerned about us as a legislative body getting too far into the weeds of of how some of both the Republican Central Committee works and the Democratic Central Committee works. I feel like they are more, it gets more into the political realm, and that's just a little concerning to me. And again, I appreciate the work you did. I'm going to be open ears to hear, I'll stay open-minded to hear what we hear during this legislative session and the next this work session and the next public hearing that we have. But I just wanted to share those concerns with you. I think I've shared those with you in just hallway discussions we've had, and just wanted to share them with you this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilman Patoka. Like I said, I'm not going to pretend to tell the Democratic Central Committee how they operate. But my concern is just correcting what I think is a very cumbersome, complicated, and confusing process if we ever have a vacancy. Let's be honest, the two central committees they're joined, right? It's not like we can have a county charter that says the Democratic Central Committee will fill a vacancy this way and the Republican Central Committee will fill it this way. We have to say that this is the process. If there's a vacancy, the entire Central Committee votes. I would hope that the Democratic Central Committee would like being more democratic and allow all of its members to participate instead of just a few. That my whole concern here is if there is ever a vacancy, there very infrequently is a vacancy. My understanding is we have not had a vacancy since 1985 or so, but who knows if we may have a vacancy in the future.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman Marks. Councilman Jones?
Yes, thank you so much. Councilman Marks, your example, I want to change the example you were using earlier when you were talking about you, Wade Catch, and Crandall. Instead of something bad happening to you, let's say one of you hit the lotto and you're worth $1 gazillion and you're hanging up the county council and you're moving off to Miami somewhere. Let's use that as a better example than somebody passing away. So that's the first thing. I like to think happy thoughts. But as it relates to this particular bill, I appreciate all the work you put into it. I'm just thinking to myself, the Republican Central Committee have every right to change their internal rules any way they like, right? I mean, they somehow, some way, the Republican Central Committee decided that they were going to have 4 members per councilmatic district versus legislative district.
That's by state law.
That was actually Councilman Catch's bill.
Okay. So I guess the next thing is, it would be like the Central Committee right now, they can pick replacements for delegates and state senators and send a person off to the governor for his selection. And I'm just wondering whether or not we would be taking power. I'm pretty sure we would be taking power away from the Democratic Central Committee as well as the Republican Central Committee. And I'm just wondering, as a Republican, would it be okay with you if the Republican Central Committee picked up the 3 people and then those 3 people came in front of basically today a democratically controlled council who would then pick the replacement? And one day it can be vice versa. It could be the Democrats that would pick 3 and maybe the Republicans are controlling the council. That's it. I mean, the reason we go to these central committees, the reason we say the county executive replacement must be somebody from the same party is because we're recognizing the influence or the importance of the party to which they've come from. I mean, is that okay?
The answer to your question is they absolutely would have to be the same party, and they would have to be 3 members of the same party. If you want to look at how this process unfolded in Harford County, they just went through this. Harford County is Republican controlled. Their county council had a vacancy in a Democratic county council seat. There were 3 names forwarded. They selected one of the 3 names. this is a very straightforward arrangement. I don't think it takes any power away from a central committee. It just simply makes things much more logical.
I mean, the central committee picked the person now, correct?
The members of the central committee in that district, the rest of the central committee members have no role at all.
Should they?
My opinion, yes. I would say so. That's what happens with the state legislature. The entire central committee votes on that.
Not so sure. But that's the way it is. I think the state legislature, when there's a vacancy, members from that from that district picked, and then the larger central committee picked.
Yeah, I think it's a
Yeah.
formality at that
But
point.
yeah, that's right. But the names come from the entire central committee, not from a little group of people on the central committee.
Okay,
Okay.
All right.
thank you.
Is that all, Councilman Jones?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Councilman Young had his hand up as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And two questions, but you sort of addressed one, Councilman Martin. Appreciate you bringing the concept of the bill up in advance. I think had obviously seen the language that you circulated it. As this bill will specifically affect the central committees, what happened in your conversation or engagement with both the Republican and Democratic central committees since drafting the bill?
I have not reached out to the Democratic Central Committees, quite frankly.
Okay.
This would be on the ballot in 2026. There would be an election after 2026 for that new Central Committee. I have not reached out to them. I think it's a pretty clear-cut decision. I just think it's a very convoluted process.
And your conversation with the Republican Central Committee?
Not formally, no.
Formally, okay, good. Obviously, it's also, we've obviously had folks reach out to us confused about the bill, and because they're confused. So I wondered what the conversation with them was as this bill, like any stakeholder, would. You sort of answered this. I just want to clarify. I don't know if it was in your slides. Is this process that you're proposing the same process that's utilized for a county council appointment in other jurisdictions, or is this like a hybrid version of what you've seen in other jurisdictions? Does that make sense? Have you seen this same process that you're proposing in other jurisdictions? You mentioned Harford County, but
Yes, Harford County, I know, has this process.
utilizes this particular process.
Mhm.
Got it. I was looking forward to hearing from the folks that are speaking on it to kind of see where they're at as well. Look forward to having a continued conversation with you.
Yeah, I mean, there's another wrinkle of this that I think we're trying to correct an error. So I'm going to read from the existing language. Hold on here.
Mhm.
I lost it. Okay, there's a problematic provision of the current language of the charter. The current charter reads, each of these members is entitled to one vote for each precinct in which his or her name was on the ballot. So in other words, if someone was elected to the central committee and leaves the central committee and there's a replacement to the central committee, does that person get to vote for a county council person? It's very confusing.
Sure. And, I think generally the idea of streamlining something or making I think wrapping our heads around the idea that now going from the current process, then we would then also roll, whether formal or informal,
Right.
in that this is sort of is a new concept. And I would encourage you between now and the next work session to engage with.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate all your questions. Look, I was on a central committee. I was on the Republican Central Committee. I might be the only one. Was anyone else on a central committee on the council? Julian, you and I don't think anyone else was, but I get it. They fill an important role. And They do good things in the community. They register voters. Not all their activities are partisan. And
Right.
so I appreciate their work. We're just trying to correct a deficiency.
All right.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Young. And I know we have, yeah, who's that? Sorry.
Crandall.
Oh, Councilman Crandall. Go ahead.
I
Sorry.
just want to let Councilman Marks know that the rumors of my demise are greatly exaggerated.
Yeah.
I appreciate Councilman Jones putting a more positive light on a Republican vacancy on the county council. I think the spirit of this, Councilman Marks, I think that it comes from not just from inconsistencies with how a central committee may install a new county council member, but I think this stems from the confusion that surrounded the process that we underwent to choose a new county executive, where the charter was not completely clear, and it gave 7 members the authority without any description of any process or any prescribed methodology in how the 7 members of the county council would choose a new county executive should the seat become vacant midterm. So I think that's kind of where the spirit of your, if I'm wrong, David, let me know, but I think that that's like the kind of the spirit where this came from, where if we're looking toward the future, and if there is a vacancy, there should be, and I'm going to agree with you, Councilman Marks, that there should be consistency with how each central committee deals with a vacancy on the county council. There should be consistency with that, with the individual that is chosen, and there should be consistency on both sides of the aisle where that particular replacement is chosen. And I also just, if we really want to get into the weeds, and I don't think that we should do this evening, but if we get into the weeds of how many representatives per legislative or councilmanic district represent a particular area, and then are therefore responsible for choosing a replacement county council member, I think we could fall into a situation where there could perhaps be 1 or 2 members of a central committee that chooses for all of Baltimore County and for a whole district of 125,000 people, or however the districts end up, the size of the districts end up being, that 1 or 2 people could be the people in charge and basically responsible for choosing the council member that takes place of a vacant position. And I think that is the spirit of your charter amendment, Councilman. And if I'm incorrect, let me know. But I think that you're trying to bring some consistency to the whole process, and where we are not put into a position where the responsibility to put someone into elected office falls to 1 or 2 people, which is not necessarily democratic. And I got your earlier point on that. So hopefully, Councilman, I'm understanding the spirit of your bill correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not quite getting it.
Yeah, I thank you for your comments. I want to make 2 important points. First, this democratizes the process. This allows every member of a central committee to participate, not just a little cluster of people from one council district. Every member participates. Secondly, the Democratic Central Committee could adopt a bylaws change, I believe. Mr. Phillips, Mr. Boswick, you correct me if I'm wrong, but that allows them to basically rubber stamp names, the 3 names from the people who represent that area, as long as the council receives 3 names from the entire Central Committee. That's all we're asking for, 3 names from the entire Central Committee. So the Democratic Central Committee could continue to have a process where the representatives from one area play an oversized role, as long as the council gets 3 names. Am I correct, Mr. Phillips or Mr. Boswick?
I do believe that is the case.
Yes. So the Democratic Central Committee could still organize itself in that way, but all their members would be involved in sending a replacement, 3 names to the council to replace someone who's left.
I got you, Councilman Jones. Is that all, David?
That's it.
Councilman Marks. You know, I have a quick question. You know, what if the Central Committee has a candidate that they are all about, that's their number 1, and they all agree, but yet they're going to have to give us 2 more names, even though they know in their hearts that number 1 is who they want?
Yeah.
How does, you know, I don't, it seems like we're taking their power away, when if they have an absolute, that we're forcing them to add an additional 2 people that they may not necessarily want, and they only are doing it because we're requiring them to give us 3 people.
Nothing would stop them from indicating their preferred candidate. I'm also open to changing this so that we can change the number that come to the council. I do want to point out, this language was forwarded to the voters by a county council in the 1980s that had no Republicans on it. It was an all Democrat council in the 80s. And maybe that's where this became disjointed. I don't know. But like I said, right now, these 2 central committees are joined. And what we're trying to do is, I think, correct and streamline the process.
Okay. Councilman Jones.
Yes, I have a couple of comments. Number one, I mean, who's to say that the Democratic Central Committee and the Republican Central Committee should or must operate the same? In fact, their makeup is different by choice. The Republican Central Committee is made up by members of a councilmanic district by choice. The Central Committee members are made up from the legislative districts by choice, by the 2 parties. Who's to say that they should somehow be the same? And
I can
then
answer that.
they pick their candidates by their process. Why is it incumbent upon us to take the power away? In other words, we have a Republican Central Committee. I want the Republican Central Committee to take whatever process that works for them around our charter and pick a candidate of their choice to come to the county council. I am very leery of somebody from another part of the county picking a replacement for another part of the county. And then on top of that, putting it in the hands of others on the county council who may or may not choose that person, or may choose the less of the 3 people intentionally, the least electable person. Who knows? Once you start tinkering with the system.
Okay, to answer the first question, the state legislature can determine how the central committees organize themselves. It's a reason why it's called the Democratic State Central Committee, the Republican State Central Committee. Councilman Cash, when he was a delegate, I believe, sponsored the bill that allowed for the 4 central committee members in each Republican district. And I know the Democrats have a different way, but the Republicans should not be held hostage to this process because the Democrats have it a certain way. It's not like we can have in the charter, if a vacancy occurs in a Republican county council district or a Democratic, we can't do that. The parties might not be around in a century. That's the issue. And the other point, Councilman Jones, you mentioned, well, shouldn't the opinions of those within the council district matter? If the Democratic Central Committee wants to change its bylaws to say that the people within a vacated county council district forward names to them, and they are rubber stamped by all the members of the Central Committee, that's fine, as long as the county council gets 3 names.
I guess the 3 names part, that the part that sort of takes the power away from the central.
I'm willing to have a discussion about the numbers.
All right. Does anybody else have anything? I think would probably be good to hear from the speakers on this. We might be able to shed some light on the opinions of, I know we have the chair of the Baltimore County Central
Just one more
Committee.
comment, Mr. Chair. I know
Yes, Councilman Crandall.
And I would just tell Chairman Jones, I guess I'm used to saying that, Julian.
I can resign.
Well, we're okay for now. But I mean, let's just remember that the Democratic Central Committee, the Republican Central Committee, these are elected offices. And they should adhere to very similar rules. So I think that that's what Councilman Marks is trying to attempt here, is to try to bring consistency to both sides. And it's kind of unfortunate that we're into, an argument over, well, maybe it's not an argument, it's just a debate or a discussion over, well, we want to do it this way and we want to do it our way. When meanwhile, it's the Baltimore County taxpayer, regardless of party, that wants to see the best person in office. And I think that all Councilman Marks is trying to do is to democratize the process where there are choices available, so we're not putting basically the power of one or two people to choose who an elected official is going to be to take over a vacancy. I'm a little concerned about why it has to be one way for one party and one way for another party. I don't understand why there can't be consistency, given the fact that we're supposed to be elected to act in a bipartisan way, which this council has done on occasion very well. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Julius.
Anyone else before we go to the speakers? All right. Ms. Belcastro, can you call the first speaker, please?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. I will be using a timer. If they cannot hear me, I'll let them know that their time is up. Our first speaker is Charlotte Wood. Ms. Wood, you are on as a panelist. You may begin your testimony. Ms. Wood?
Just a moment. Thank you very much.
Hello, Dr. Wood.
Let me just get my settings in place. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Chair Ertel, and all the Councilmatic members that are before me. Thank you so much for this opportunity to chat. This whole conversation has truly enlightened me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Charlotte Wood. I'm the chair of the Baltimore County Council Democratic State Central Committee, And I am before you today to request a vote against or withdrawal of Bill 1125. This bill is supposed to define a county council vacancy, replace existing language that authorizes central committee members of the political party to vote on a successor, and simplify the process by allowing the council to vote on 3 submitted names. One of the biggest concerns that I have, and I do appreciate the amount of discussion that has gone before me, because it clearly indicates to me that the conversation had not been had before this point in time. And that is that there is a lack of stakeholder input, there's a lack of transparency, and the inadvertent change of the Central Committee's bylaws by way of change of this charter. The theme throughout the council, as much as I really, truly appreciate each and every one of you over the past several months, has been such that we have lacked communication, we've lacked the ability to have input, and there's just a simple, basic lack of transparency. There's no reason why the Central Committee members could not have been included in the very relevant discussions of the issues of changing this charter to clearly define something differently by not impacting their very relevant role of their existence, their responsibility, and their ability to provide their areas that they are responsible for with a legitimate and very appropriate candidate. Please take the time now to please look at this very seriously. It's not as simplistic as one wants to put out there. And what I do want to say to each and every one of you is that I believe that you should give a very, very high level of consideration to the fact that if you want to make this kind of change, and you're speaking to an entity of people, being the Democratic Central Committee with almost 40 people as a part of this membership, please have a discussion with us. It is relevant that we be a part of this conversation. It is important. It is crucial. And I would love for the conversation that you had earlier to have been a part of, because I could have contributed greatly and clarified multiple points on which there is and seems to be some confusion about how we do our process at the Democratic Baltimore County Central Committee. So please take this opportunity to reconsider what you are doing with this particular bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wood. We appreciate you being here and getting your input on this issue. Ms. Belcastro, next speaker.
Certainly. Our next speaker is Linda Dorsey Walker. Ms. Walker, you're on as a panelist.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Can you
can.
hear me? Good afternoon. My name is Linda Dorsey Walker. I come before you to testify against Bill 1125. As many of you are aware, I am a 30-year plus elected member of the Baltimore County Central Committee. As such, I can speak to the history of how we got into this position today. Somewhere between 16 and 20 years ago, you're correct, Councilman Cox introduced a bill to have Central Committee members elected on a councilmanic basis. Up until then, for years, for decades, Central Committee members in both parties were elected on a legislative/senatorial basis. It was he that changed things, not us. Senator Dolores Kelly warned, please don't make that change. If you make that change and force us to have to do it, then we're going to change it back 4 years later. We tried it one time for 4 years. For 4 years, we elected people on a councilmanic basis. Then she introduced a piece of legislation and we went back to where we were. So in other words, the problem wasn't created by the Democrats. It was created, the inconsistency, the unwillingness to be a cooperative party was created by the Republicans. First of all, let me say this. The following steps are part of we are the gold standard in Baltimore County. We have probably had more of these vacancies that we've had to fill than any other entity in the state of Maryland. As such, many of the other jurisdictions look to us. The following are steps to every candidate selection, whether they be for Senate, House, County Council, Central Committee, school board, or election nominations have to follow. First, we have an announcement of and solicitation of candidates in the local and regional newspapers, at the party website, and social media. And we also use our mailing list. We have number 2, application form and supporting documentations that are accessed by people that want to apply. Number 3, candidate vetting by and with the people in the committee who know the candidate best and can vet them and assure that the statements they made are correct, and assure the citizenship and proof of residency are met. Number 4, we have a meeting of a nominations group to determine an interview date, time, place, structured interview questions. Number 5, we have invitation to all qualifying candidates who have been submitted materials on a timely basis to participate in the structured interview process. Number 6, we have completion of structured candidate interviews, which generally are conducted both in person and via Zoom, and includes a publicly held vote and a public announcement of who's selected or nominated. Number 7, we reject the rejected candidates are notified. Number 8, full voting membership ratification takes place by every voting member, and there's 40 voting members of our Democratic State Central Committee, which again, they interview the candidates, they ask them questions, the candidates give a 3-minute long statement, and then a public vote is again conducted. Anyone, even any of the Republicans, are invited to attend. And then finally, the Maryland Democratic Party, the governor, the Board of Elections, if it's necessary, are notified of the choice that's made, and then it's confirmed by the governor. Baltimore County has had to go through this process more than anyone else, okay? For much of that time, during that 30-year period, I was the nominations committee chair. I know this process really, really well, and I know the history well. I know that there are a lot of mistakes that can be easily made by an entity that has not had to go through this process. What you were saying before about there not being some of the stuff written in charter form, we have it written in charter form at the state level and at the local level for Baltimore County. So I ask that you please not throw out the baby with the bathwater. We already do things the right way in the Democratic Party. We have all this written down. We follow this process to a letter, no matter who has the vacancy, and we would do it for any county council member as well. We feel that it's important to allow the people who know the candidates best, and from a jurisdictional standpoint for the county council, only the people that live in that particular jurisdiction would be part of that nominating group from our end and would have the right to vet and interview those candidates. Everyone, including any of you, are invited to sit in on that process. We're not closed. We're very transparent. So I ask you to please vote against Bill 1125, because we already have a good process, and if you wanted to change back the way it was.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Councilman.
this
Mark.
question is directed at Councilman Catch. Councilman Catch, you're listening?
Yeah.
I'd like you to read the chat box. Ms. Dorsey Walker has put in a very lengthy comment. It's in all caps, and when you put things in all caps, you're yelling at people. So I'd like you to, Councilman Catch, can you read that? And if there's any reaction, do you see the chat box?
Yep.
I'd like you to respond, because it's interesting how the Republicans are somehow to blame for all this. I'm just curious, your reaction.
It is incorrect. What I'm reading, it says both parties were for decades consistent in electing its Central Committee members on a legislative basis until Councilman Catch decided to recommend electing members on a councilmatic basis. first of all, only the legislation on the state level only applies to the Republican Central Committee. It doesn't apply to the Democrat Central Committee. And what it does, the legislation simply has our Central Committee members in Baltimore County elected per councilmatic district. And on top of it, at one time, our chairman of the Central Committee was elected in the primary by the voters. And
That's right.
I think it was 4 or 8 years ago that was removed. So actually, I never had any, and there was no effort on my part to change the way the Democrat Central Committee was elected. I don't know that it was by council. If it was, then it must have been a Democrat who put in the bill, but mine only referred to the Republican Central Committee.
So Councilman Catch, it's highly unlikely that when you were a delegate in Annapolis, you would have sponsored a bill that would have drastically changed the Democratic Central Committee.
No.
That's highly unlikely, isn't it?
No,
Do you think the Democratic legislature would have gone along with that?
no, they wouldn't have been. And plus, the what the bill I put in only referred to the Baltimore County Republican State Central Committee, not the Democrat.
Okay, thank
Not
you.
at all.
Thank you. I just wanted to give you a chance to respond to that. So
Oh,
thank
no,
you.
if you're right, if I had, well, I wouldn't do that in the first place because it's really, it's up to the Democrats to determine how they want to elect their Central Committee. So thank you.
Yeah, and just to close this off, Councilman Catch, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is about vacancies. That's all. That's all it's about.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Marks. Ms. Dorsey Walker, thank you for being here today. And by the way, I just wanted to say your performance at the Underground Walk was spectacular, and I think we all get to see a different side of you there. So it was fun to see. Ms. Belcastro, did you want to call the next speaker, please?
Certainly. The last speaker for this item is Sharonda Hoffman, and I believe Ms. Hoffman is on by telephone. Let me try unmuting her. Ms. Hoffman?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi,
Okay,
Ms.
yes.
Hoffman.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I sent an email earlier, but I just about some discrepancies. But I just want to add to my comments. I am against the bill. What happened to bipartisanship? We have no formal comments from either Central Committee. So please just provide us with a new bill for a special election during the presidential election year. I do have some questions. As I was listening to the redistricting commission last night, Mr. Bossert, was it stated that to the redistricting commission that the redistricting that was produced as a result of factors including political performance? 2, does this entire county vote for each county council person? Is that Democratic? The Central Committee reps are elected too. They are their representatives. The delegates and senators don't choose their colleagues. How does that process align with this bill? And just recently, council was cited for violating the transparency within the Meetings Act. So keeping that all in mind, no process is perfect. I want to tell you, no Central Committee is perfect, but this is not the answer. There are a few discrepancies in the bill. If you actually want to change the process, then you probably need to talk to your state legislators and change the law that talks about how the Republican Central Committee and the Democratic Central Committees are set up for their one line. So again, I think this was a good effort to try to change some things in a charter. However, please consider just having a committee that has a charter commission, because there's a lot of things that probably need to change in the charter, and we should not do it in these little baby steps because this wasn't a good bill. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Hoffman. We appreciate your comments.
I have two questions for Ms. Hoffman.
Okay, can we unmute her so
Yeah,
she can answer?
sure. Hold on.
Give me 1 second. I have to put her back into the,
That way she doesn't have to type her response.
that's okay. I got it. Yep.
Like
Who,
Miss-
who am I
Miss-
speaking to?
Miss
I'm on the
Dorsey
telephone.
Walker.
This is
had-
Councilman Marks, Ms. Huffman.
Yeah.
So in your email to us, you said, quote, instead of making isolated changes, you proposed the creation of a charter review commission to examine the charter as a whole. Are you aware or not aware that there is a charter review commission?
Well, you hadn't added them to have them do this, which is a charter review commission. It's now.
I couldn't understand that.
It's down. If you instead of putting it out, I mean, I was just down part of the whole big process. If you had one, somebody to use them.
Okay, there's a, were you aware that before you wrote that email that there was a charter review commission?
Does it matter? I'm sorry, I guess that's not a question. Because I don't understand why you're asking, was I aware of it? I'm not a council person. I'm telling this, so I think they and the whole aspect. So, you know, if you have it, that's wonderful. You probably should send it to them.
Well, there is the reason I asked that is there is a charter review commission. It comes up in the 7th year of a decade, and I know because I sponsored the bill that put that on the ballot. It's a very useful function, and I appreciate you mentioning this. But sometimes we shouldn't wait around for a charter review commission. In fact, if we had waited for the charter review commission to opine on the number of council districts, then the number of council districts would never have been changed. So sometimes we act independent of the charter review commission. So the second thing I want to.
You have enough time, Mr. Mark. So therefore, at this moment in time, because it's 2025 in this February. In the other instance, Councilman Patoka had very little time, so I completely understand. But at this moment in time, I think you have enough time to do the whole list part of it and piecemeal it. Because a lot of people have a lot of issues with this particular bill and got no input. So that's the problem right there.
Okay, well, I just looked at the election statistics and hundreds of thousands of people voted in the last gubernatorial election when this would be considered. So it seems to me that there would be a lot of eyes on this proposal if we sent it to the voters. The second thing I wanted to mention, you say, I oppose any proposal that does not trigger a special election when there's sufficient time to include it on a ballot. Well, okay, special elections are an interesting concept. What do you think about the state legislature? Should there be special elections there?
If it's during the presidential election, and I do support that. So what I'm saying is the same way it triggers a, let's say somebody quits, there's a 4-year term, and they have vacated enough time for there to be on the presidential election ballot, then I do support that. That isn't costing voters a whole bunch of extra money. I don't believe in what they did in Prince George's County, where they, you know, every time a council person leaves, they have to have another election. What I'm talking about, I think it should be back to the voters. It shouldn't be something that it keeps going back to the council. And I mean, the whole concept of what you're asking to do is to have the council have more control of their colleagues. And even in their current General Assembly, they don't do that. It goes to the governor. So none of the things that you're saying align with what you're actually trying to create. But it's an opportunity for the council people to choose their own council people. And I don't think that's a good idea.
And right now, very few members, maybe as few as 1, 2, or 3, or 4, pick a county council member. You know, there's precedent, and it's the state legislative process for what I'm trying to do. It's been done elsewhere. Thank you, Ms. Huffman.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Huffman. We appreciate you being here. Any other final words on this before we move on? There's no other speakers, correct, Ms. Belcastro? I didn't see any.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to resolution 925, authorization conditional purchase agreement, and Director Reed is going to talk about this. Director Reed, are you with us?
I am, Mr. Chair.
There you are.
Good afternoon, evening, and council members. excuse me, the Resolution 925, this is a request for the council authorization to issue up to $125 million in certificates of participation. These are our COPs that we use to purchase necessary and needed large equipment. These COPs differ from bonds in one key point, that they are not backed by the full faith and credit of the county's taxing authority, but we do include the debt service payments within our budgets and within our debt outlook and our outlay. We do these equipment financing packages every 3 years. The last one we had was in February of 2022. And the requested issuance includes a cadre of different large equipments, $45 million for DPWT, $35.4 million for OIT, $29.6 million for public safety. We provided a list to the council in the CARF system. It includes about 53 dump trucks for DPWT, property management, rec and parks, necessary radio equipment for OIT, 17 medic unit replacements, 9 fire pumper trucks, numerous computing devices and peripherals, additional tower truck and 3 ladder trucks, and 3 bookmobiles. We generate estimated funds generated through the sale total $18 million in bond premium we expect to receive, and including $8 million in interest costs. We will pay this over the course of a 10-year period at the debt service cost of approximately $16.2 million. Please note that these acquisitions take a significant period of time between purchase and delivery. Fire trucks and large pieces of fire equipment take about 48 months from start to finish, and DPW trucks another 18 to 24 months. We are currently going to the rating agencies to ask for a rating at the end of this month, and this issuance will be a part of that, as well as our regular debt process. If we wanted to look at the package that was approved in February of 2022, that package was around $100 million in COPs, and we still have, if you're looking at the package, some funding left on it, cash, but those are all spec'd out for various equipment that is currently in process where we have not received the invoices at this time. So I do have some folks from various departments that are involved in this process. We started, this is managed by Equipment Operations Maintenance and DPWT, and we've been working the last 6 months on speccing out the needs to put this package forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Reed. Any questions for Director Reed on this resolution? None? Okay. Thank you, Director Reed. We'll move on to appointments. Mr. Secretary, well, I guess I can read these, and if you need any comments. First up, we have an appointment to the Baltimore County Animal Hearing Board, Cynthia Draband. I believe Mrs. Draband is with us tonight.
She is on as a panelist currently.
Ms. Draband, did you want to talk a little bit about your experience and why you want to serve and all that good stuff? Tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Hi, I have a prepared statement. Good evening, members of the council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Cindy Dryband, and I am honored to be considered for a position on the Baltimore County Animal Hearing Board. I applied for this position because I am passionate about animal welfare, responsible pet ownership, and ensuring fair decisions in animal-related cases. I believe that education, structure, and fairness are key to resolving conflicts and promoting responsible pet management. My background in canine behavior, training, and community involvement allows me to bring valuable insights to the decision-making process. As a professional dog trainer, I have worked with countless dogs and their owners to modify behaviors, establish structure, and create safer living environments. My expertise includes addressing behavioral challenges such as aggression, fear, reactivity, and impulse control. I specialize in obedience training and have experience working with rescues, shelter dogs, and working breeds. My ability to assess dog behavior and tailor training programs gives me a well-rounded understanding of animal management issues. Beyond my work in dog training, I am also the head coach for Baltimore County Special Olympics. This role has given me the ability to effectively communicate, lead with patience, and teach in a way that fosters both confidence and discipline. It has reinforced my ability to work with diverse individuals, mediate difficult situations, and approach challenges with fairness and logic, qualities that are essential for serving on this board. I take great pride in my ability to remain objective, carefully evaluate situations, and ensure that decisions are made with both the community and animals' best interests in mind. If appointed, I will bring my experience, knowledge, and passion to the board, working to uphold fairness and ensure that each case is considered with diligence and empathy. I appreciate your time and consideration, and I look forward to the opportunity to serve Baltimore County in this capacity. I would be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Thank you, Miss Dryban. Sorry I mispronounced your name.
That's okay.
I guessed and was wrong.
It's okay.
What part of, by the way, what part of the county are you from?
I'm in Owings Mills.
Okay, great. Did any of the council members have questions for Miss Dryban?
I have a comment to make.
Sure.
Yes, Councilman Catch.
Yeah, I want to thank you very much for your willingness to serve on this board. You know, and I know that some of the decisions that you're going to be making are very difficult to make.
Yes,
And you know, with the training you have, with the business you have, I think that you are very qualified to serve on this board. And again, I thank you. I'm not sure I'd want to serve on it. I'll put it that way. So
well, thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Catch. Councilman Patoka, did you
Yes.
look like you want to say something?
Yeah, I have a question for Ms. Dryban. Ms. Dryban, let me just say first, you sound extremely well qualified for the position, so
Thank
thank
you.
you. But I have a question for you about your day job.
Sure.
And have you ever had an occasion to try to train a Vizsla?
Vizsla? Yes, I actually have trained a Vizsla before.
Okay, so I've been thinking about getting one, and I hear that they are really difficult they're very needy, and I understand that there are support groups, 12-step support groups for Vizsla.
Oh my gosh.
So
I didn't know
just
that.
wanted to know, is that true that they're very difficult especially in the first couple of years, is what I hear?
Yeah. So they're not necessarily difficult. I would say they're like a working breed. So they're dogs who are going to be really getting into a lot of stuff. So you really just have to make sure that you're giving them enough exercise, enough mental stimulation. Once you get him, you really want to start working on your basic obedience, have a really nice structured schedule, a routine, and you should really be fine. And make sure that when you're getting him, just, you know, really, really research the breeder, because that really matters. There's a lot of breeders out there who are not very, let's say they don't do a very good job of keeping the animals safe and happy. And you just want to make sure that you're not getting a dog from like a puppy mill, you know?
Yep, got it. Thank you so much. Do you
You're
think
so
you can take a Vizsla to a community meeting, or is that asking too much of that breed?
I think it matters. It just depends how good we can get their basic obedience. If he can do really good and excel with all of his commands, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to. You just have to put the work in.
Okay,
As long as you
sounds like
put
you know what you're doing. If I get one, I'm gonna give you a call.
Please do.
Councilman Patoka, it sounds like the same thing that we had to do with you.
Oh no.
You're all, you know, it took a few years, but now you're okay in public.
That's hilarious.
Let's not air dirty laundry, Councilman Crandall.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Councilman Catch.
Yeah, it sounds as though Councilman Patoka will have to resigned from the county council to work with his new dog for 2 years.
Yeah.
I have seen situations with cats. Some cat breeds are very needy, and
Mhm.
if you don't pay attention to them, they can cause quite a bit of havoc. So maybe if we could get a bill passed to determine how to replace members of the county council who resign, it could be this so this is working out quite well. So, no, it's going to be a lot of work, I can tell you.
My.
Okay. Any others for Miss Dryban? Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Councilman Jones.
I just want to thank Ms. Dryban for stepping up and her willingness to serve. And if you hear my dogs barking right now, it's because my wife is coming in. So I would like to ask her a few questions. I have 3 dogs, 2 Shih Tzus and a Rottweiler, and I have like a whole list of questions. If you don't mind, let me.
Yeah, shoot.
No, okay, forget about it. Thanks for serving.
Okay. Well, I'm here if you want any answers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. I'm glad you're joking.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I
Councilman.
just want to let you know, I put a link into the chat of photos of a Visla for anybody that is interested in taking a look at that beautiful dog.
Sounds very exciting. All right, Miss Dryban, thank you so much for stepping up, and we appreciate you being here with us tonight, and we look forward to your appointment.
Well, I thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I'm very excited. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Belcastro, we next have also Baltimore County Animal Hearing Board, and this is for Michelle Silwick. And none of these have what part of the county, or I don't know if these are council appointments or county exec, but
Silwick is from District 5, I believe.
is she your pick?
I highly endorse her, and I'll speak to her once she says a few words.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Ms. Silwick, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you, and I'm.
Did you want to say a few words about Animal Hearing Board and your experience and
Yes, I have had a lifelong passion for animals, and I've had a lot of practical experience, as well as I volunteered with rescues. I've volunteered at animal shelters, and also I've helped find animals homes and just that type of experience. I've also was on the Perry Hall Dog Park Committee before it was under the umbrella of Recreation and Park Council. I was in that for a time, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Councilman Marks, did you want to say?
I just, I thank the county executive's office for forwarding this name. I highly, highly recommend Shelley to this board. She's compassionate. She's got a great track record of working on animal welfare. And you are correct. You were on the committee that helped get the dog park created. So thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ms. Silwick? Okay, Ms. Silwick, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We look forward to your appointment, and we really do appreciate your, it's always gratifying that we have so many citizens in Baltimore County who are willing to step up and serve on many of our boards. That's one of the things I think I don't know if everybody worries about it. I'm a newer council person, and I worried that I wouldn't be able to find people, and I find that people in this county are very willing to give of their time and experience. And like I said, I think it's always gratifying to all of us that we have people like you that will step up.
Oh, Thank you. And I would like to add that I do think I would be an asset to the Animal Hearing Board, and I would certainly do my best.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. We have a third person as well on the Baltimore County Animal Hearing Board, and that's Dr. Dana Coleman. I hopefully I'm pronouncing that one right. It's not that tough. Dr. Coleman, are you on with us tonight? Ms. Belcastro?
She's unmuted now, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Can you
Oh,
hear
there
me
she is.
now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for having me. My name is Dana Coleman. I'm an associate clinical professor at Towson University in the Department of Sociology, Anthropology, and Criminal Justice. I come to you not through my formal means at Towson. I come to you as a citizen of Baltimore County. I've worked for BHS in the Spay and Neuter Center for the past 5 years. Just like you've heard from other people, I'm a complete advocate for animal rights. I stopped working at BHS when I broke my leg last semester, broke my foot, and my position was filled. But I also want to bring to your attention, I'm part at Towson University of SARP, which is Student Accountability and Restorative Practices. And that's where students appeal violations against them. And we work on an appeal board, which I think is very, there's certainly ties into what I would be doing with the Animal Review Board. So anyway, I'm excited. I'm happy to help. I'm a big believer in community service and giving back to the community. So the fact that I'm not working in spay and neuter right now, I would love to replace that by working with the hearing board. So anyway, unless you have any other questions for me, that's my quick story and I'm sticking to it.
Oh, good. Are there questions for Dr. Coleman? Not, Ms. Coleman, I think you said this, but I either didn't hear it or I failed to hear it. What part of the county are you with?
So when I work for the county, I work for Baltimore County Crime Lab. Right now, I
Oh, wow.
teach for the state and I work for Towson University. But I spent 12 years Baltimore County Crime Lab Forensic Services. I was a CSI for them.
Wow, that's impressive. And where do you live in the county?
I live in Catonsville.
Oh, nice. So you're in
21228, hon.
Oh, good. No hate in 2128.
No hate in 21228. Life is great in 21228.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Councilman Young. Any?
No, I was going to say the same tagline. Life is great.
There we go. I love it.
Mr. Chair.
All right. Well, thank you for being here tonight with us, and we look forward to your appointment.
So can I ask you a question? What
Absolutely.
comes next? I log off of this email or this chain, and then what happens next?
Secretary Boswick, do you want to?
Sure. As far as confirmation, if you could be in person, that's of course preferred, but if you can at least be on virtually like today, the legislative session where your nomination will be confirmed by the council will be next Tuesday because of the Monday holiday, Tuesday, February the 18th at 6 p.m.
Okay.
So if all of the nominees are available to attend that session, again, that's preferred, but if that is not tenable, you can also get on virtually.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Coleman. Next up, we have Baltimore County Police Accountability Board, PAB, and Ms. Stephanie Betterson. Is Ms. Betterson with us tonight?
Hi, good evening. Yes, I'm here.
Well, welcome, Ms. Betterson. Did you want to talk a little bit about your experience and?
Sure. My name is Stephanie Betterson. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to come before you. I am originally from Baltimore County, although I have lived all over the world. I'm an Army brat. My father was in the Army, and we traveled all throughout the world, actually. I moved to Randallstown in 1985, so I've been here quite a long time. I'm very active in the community in which I live. I currently am the sitting vice president of my homeowners association, as well as I believe in giving back to the community and the importance of service. And so I come before you to for this position to add some accountability to whatever's going on within the police department, and to bring some community service to myself, as well as to give everyone the opportunity to have fair and equitable hearings.
Well, thank you. Did anyone have questions for Ms. Betterson?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilman Jones, sorry.
Yes, I just want to thank Ms. Betterson for stepping up and for her willingness to serve. I've known her for quite some time, and I'm sure she's going to do well. So really appreciate it very much. And for those that came along earlier and I did not get a chance to say, I want to thank everybody for stepping up. To your point, Mr. Chair, this is the type of service that we have from citizens that really make our government better. So thank you all, and thank you, Ms. Betterson.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Betterson. And since you've been here since 1985, you're kind of a lifer in Baltimore County.
Oh yeah, definitely. I claim Baltimore County. Yes, I do.
So we're not going to hold it against you that you're a world traveler and
no,
weren't
please
here
don't.
for several years.
Please don't.
Well, thank you for stepping up, and you know, PAB is a very important board, and it's great to have good people to serve there, because we need that participation and life experience on that board, especially.
Well, I definitely look forward to serving and doing whatever I can to make it a more equitable board there.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Bell Castro, I think that is all for our appointees tonight. So you don't have to deal with the system for a while, or maybe you do. Next up is Bill 325, Director Gutwald. I think it's being extended from what I was told. Is Dr. or Director Gutwald with us tonight?
He is on now.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the County Council. Yes, Councilman Ertel, the administration is requesting to extend this bill for another 2 weeks to the February 25th work session. As you know, this bill was attempting to do updates to basic services mapping, standards and technical language relating to the transportation to conform with the best practices and Public Works traffic impact guidelines. As you know, we were trying to marry what we do with in methodologies for traffic impact studies for each individual development with what the basic services maps would use. I understand there's been some concerns regarding what's in the traffic impact guidelines, so we're asking for some additional times to vet what's in those to make it consistent with what's in the code. I'll take any questions. And I would mention that the current methodology that's used in the basic services map is 60 years old. So there's been multiple iterations and versions of the highway capacity manual over the years that has changed the way the methodology in which we do traffic studies. So.
Okay. Thank you, Director Gutwald. Any questions for Director Gutwald on Bill 325? Or would everyone like to wait till it's extended later and we can ponder it more? Looks like there's no questions. All right, well, thank you, Director Gutwald. Next up, we have Bill.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, I'm sorry.
that's okay. We did have a registered speaker.
We have a
for that.
speaker. Oh, we do have a speaker.
Yes. Jason Vittori.
I was trying to avoid him, but
Well, I'm trying to locate him on our
is
attendee list.
he on?
And I don't see him on. I thought I saw him on earlier. Oh, yes, he is. He's at the top. I located him. Mr. Vittori is now on.
Mr. Vittori.
Good evening, I guess at this point. Having attended for the last hour and 40 minutes, I thought I would add to the fun that everybody's having. And instead of possibly coming back at the next work session and saying what I think is a very straightforward and hopefully very brief, I agree with Mr. Gutwald that standard that is 60 years old is perhaps a little archaic, and having different reviews by State Highway Administration, Maryland Department of Transportation, and the county doesn't make a lot of sense. I would just add that, perhaps with the basic services maps that are getting through, I think the planning board has had their public hearing and perhaps will have their vote coming up in short order, and those basic services maps will be coming to you. This regulation that adopts this Baltimore County Zoning Regulation Section 4A02, there's a process for adopting those maps, and those maps are using the old methodology. For projects that are in what I call the pipeline, they have already submitted traffic impact studies, and those studies by traffic engineers, and I won't get into the details, can be 120 pages long. It would be great if perhaps things in process were somehow exempted out of this change in the law, so as to not make things complicated and have to go back to the beginning on things. I don't think anybody's afraid, because we still use for the state reviews the highway capacity manual, but it just might make things a little bit more complicated. And that's all.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Vittori? None. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vittori. It's always good to have you chime in on these things.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
You too. All right. So next up, we have Bill 425, Specialized Transportation Service, and this is from Director Buckler, Lauren Buckler, from DPWT. Is Ms. Buckler with us tonight?
Director Buckler is on.
Oh, good. I thought you might be on a plow tonight.
Thankfully, I am not, but can we also elevate Deputy Director Russell up onto, I was in Annapolis and driving back and wasn't sure what the timeline was. So I unfortunately don't have this in front of me, but I know Deputy Russell does.
Okay. Is Deputy Russell here?
Yes,
Yes,
he is.
he
on.
is. There he is. Thank you.
Good evening, Council Chair, members of the council. Tonight, we're looking for the administration's requesting the approval to receive $4,861 in federal funding that's passed through MDOT. It's going to go to the Specialized Transportation Service Gifts and Grants Fund Program. I just want to advise you that these funds support the salaries of our current full-time and part-time countywide drivers. Also want to note that this is $4,861 is in addition to those that received back in December with Bill 8524.
Okay. Thank you, Deputy Director Russell. Any questions for Mr. Russell or Ms. Buckler? None? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good luck tonight on everything. I'm sure it's like we got a lot of precipitation coming.
Yep, we're out there now, sir.
I know you are. All right, thank you so much for being here. next up, we have Bill 525. This is Maryland Opioid Restitution Funding FY 2025. And this is being presented by Amanda Wenzel, EMS captain with our Baltimore County Fire Department.
Good evening.
Hi, Miss Wenzel. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
Baltimore County Fire Department is requesting an amendment to the 2025 current expense budget through Gibson Grant Special Revenue Fund. We were awarded state funds through Maryland Opioid Restitution Funding. We were granted a total of $255,431.50, which is a 2-year grant to expand our quick response team program from 2 days a week to 5 days a week, so that we can offer increased service to our county residents.
Okay, great. Any questions for Captain? It's Captain, right?
Captain,
I know it's
correct.
EMS captain, but you're still a captain.
Yes, sir.
For Captain Wenzel? None? Okay. Thank you so much, Captain Wenzel. We appreciate you being here tonight with us.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right. Next up, we have another fire department bill, Bill 625. This is Pennsylvania Task Force reimbursements. This is Assistant Chief Scott Ebert. Chief Ebert, you here?
I am. Good evening, Chairman Artel, members of the County Council. The Fire Department is requesting an amendment to the FY 2025 current expense budget to appropriate additional funds into the Gifts and Grants Special Revenue Fund. These funds total $34,932.11, originating from federal funding, FEMA funding, that's passed through the City of Philadelphia and the State of Maryland as reimbursement for salary expenses incurred during mutual aid deployments. In FY25, the department provided specially trained personnel for multiple mutual aid deployments supporting the Pennsylvania Task Force and the Maryland Helicopter Aquatic Rescue Team, or HART. The initial budget allocated $150,000 for salaries and backfill. However, due to the increase in severe weather events across the eastern United States, Tropical Storm Debbie, Hurricanes Helene and Milton, deployments were more frequent and of longer duration. So to accept and utilize the additional funding received in support of these extended deployments, we respectfully request an appropriation increase of $34,932.11, bringing the total allocation to $184,932.11.
Okay.
Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Chief Ebert. Any questions for Chief Ebert? Chief, quick question. So it's mutual aid into Pennsylvania. How does that usually happen?
Yeah, so we have specially trained members that are assigned to our USAR station, the Texas Fire Station, that are also part of Pennsylvania Task Force 1, so one of the FEMA teams. So when they are deployed, they step up for these deployments and go to states like North Carolina to assist in recovery efforts from these natural disasters.
Oh, good to know. That's
sir.
Any other questions from the members? None? Okay. All right. Thank you, Chief Ebert.
Yes, sir.
Next up, we have Director Pesterfield from the Department of Corrections, Councilman Marks' favorite department head. And this is on MOORF Corrections Grant. That's a mouthful.
Yes, it is. Good evening, Councilman Chair Ertel and Councilman. Baltimore County Department of Corrections is requesting an amendment for the 2025 current expense budget by appropriating to the Gifts and Grants Special Revenue Fund. These monies derive from the Maryland state funds made available to Baltimore County through the Maryland Opioid Restitution Funding. The state of Maryland is made known the funds available are to be used in aiding the expansion of the department's medication for opiate use disorder, the MOUD program. The proposed grant funding will assist in the expansion and service delivery of medication for opiate use disorder program through expansion of necessary supplies and personnel to include 2 correctional officers, 1 certified peer recovery specialist, 1 registered nurse, and 1 nurse practitioner. The MOUD program will address unmet and urgent overdose-related needs. The grant period is January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2026. The appropriation is a 100% funding opportunity with no county match. The total award is in the amount of $476,863 and $238,431.50 for 2 years respectively. Any questions?
Any questions for Director Pesterfield? Doesn't look like it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director
very much.
Pesterfield. We appreciate you being here with us tonight.
You're welcome.
Hold down the fort there, literally.
We will do that.
All right. I think that may be all the business we have tonight for the work session. Unless there's any other comments or questions or points of order from the members. None. All right. I appreciate everybody being here. Councilman Crandall, you're just saying goodbye. Keep Dundalk safe.
Just a quick reminder, Mr. Chair, like I said
Yes.
earlier, the legislative session, which is traditionally on the Monday, will be on Tuesday, the 18th, again, because of the presidential holiday.
Okay, great.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank everyone for being here tonight. Stay safe and remember, heart attacks happen when you shovel snow, so don't do anything crazy. Don't overdo it.
Randall should buy a lottery ticket.
Do I shovel snow or buy a lottery ticket? I don't know. It's
Probably both.
all evening.
Probably both.
For choices here.
Good night.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and we'll call it a night.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.